Hey guys, what's up? My name is Tara. Some people call me Mama Sage. Today I'm going to talk about something that I've talked about a little bit before, but not so much in depth. We're going to be talking about when I went to jail for trafficking cocaine to an undercover officer. So, for those of you who are new here, I work a recovery program. I've been doing this deal for a few 24 hours, and I just really want to spread some information that will be educational for families who have loved ones that are going through addiction and alcoholism. Shed some light on what life is like and the things that we're thinking about or the things that we're not thinking about whenever we're in that situation. And also just, kind of want to give hope to people that are out there still doing the deal or, are just struggling in early recovery. Because I've been there. I know what it's like, and it's not easy. We're all just doing the best we can, man. So, for those of you who are returning subscribers, thanks for coming back for another episode of Tara Was a Mess. This is Tara Was a Mess Tuesday, and I call it that because this series of videos is all about how much of a mess my life was whenever I was out there, partying. I thought I was partying anyway. So, let's get to it.
Yeah.
Today we're talking about how I was arrested and went to jail for trafficking cocaine to other undercover officers. Not a shining moment. This was about 12 years ago. It's been quite a while, 10, 12 years ago, something like that. I think 12 at this point. It's not something that's a part of my life today, and it's not something that I have to think about today. I got a level 1 fingerprint clearance card here in Arizona, and basically what that says is that I am fit to serve at-risk populations. So what that means is the mentally disabled, physically handicapped, senior citizens, children. So obviously, I'm at the point in my life where the government believes that I'm rehabilitated to the point where I can be of service. And that's a pretty cool thing. So it's been a really long time. So bear with me because I'm going to have to think about some of this stuff. And I'm probably going to have to clip out some cuts where I'm trying to think of what happened next or what to say, how to say something. When I was 21, 22, I think I was 21, my kids were really little, and I was with baby daddy. And for anyone who hasn't watched some of my other videos, I talk about him a little bit in a couple of different videos, I think. I don't talk about who he is or mention his name just out of respect for his privacy. That's his business. He and I were together during this time, and he and I were both struggling with addiction, clearly. I had to get a job and had a very short amount of time to try to make rent money. Once again, during this time, I was really, really struggling with addiction. Cocaine was my drug of choice. It always was. It was the mainstay along with alcohol. I didn't like pot. It made me paranoid. And I've been diagnosed with ADD, ADHD, inattentive presentation predominantly whenever I got back into early recovery. So that was almost 5 years ago. So it's been a little while. But I realized through that the whole time I was self-medicating. Regardless, I ended up getting a job in a strip club because I'm like, what am I going to do to make money, to make rent in such a short period of time? Well, I'm like, well, I'm not going to sell my booty on the street corner, right? Like, that's just not me. And I'm not judging anybody that has done that. I mean, we all do what we do, and we make different decisions, and we all live, a little bit differently. We all have our own hustle. So, no disrespect to anybody that's gone in that direction. It's just not part of my story. So I'm like, how am I gonna make rent money without selling my booty? Well, I'll fake sell my booty. So what I did was I called a bunch of different strip clubs in Columbus, Ohio, which is where I grew up. And I called like the nicer, more expensive ones that had like a better reputation, cleaner reputation, a little bit classier. And they wanted a police report. Each one wanted a police report. Well, no big deal. I mean, I could have a police report printed off. I didn't have a record at this point at all. I mean, I'd never even had a speeding ticket at this point in my life. I went to try to put this whole thing together, and I realized I don't have enough gas. I don't have any money. And what little money I did have, I needed to spend on diapers because I had 2 kids in diapers at the same time. So I'm like, I can't drive downtown Columbus, pay for parking, pay for gas, pay for the police reports, and then drive all the way up to the other part of Columbus. Like, if you look at the 270 outer belt as a big circle, like, I lived down in Grove City, and these nicer clubs were like in the northeast part of the city. So complete opposite side of town. So it was a good half an hour drive at least. And I just had to make some decisions. And I'm doing like any good abnormal drinker. I didn't have clear thinking, and I wasn't able to make the best decisions for myself, for my kids. So the bottom line is I start looking for like cheaper strip clubs, more low class strip clubs, like dirtier ones without a great reputation, so that I could just get somewhere and start making money. So there's this place over on Hilltop in Columbus, and it used to be there. It was called Foxy Lady. So I called them and I said, hey, are you guys hiring? And the bartender answers and she says, hey, yeah, I mean, you can come on down and we can talk and see what's going on. And we'll see if this might be a good fit for you. So I throw on my lucky shirt that had gotten me 2 or 3 different serving jobs. It was this like Asian inspired kimono top, which is flattering because I've had 2 kids biologically, and it hides the mommy belly whenever you wear an empire waist anything. That was like my number 1 trick back then because I was super, super self-conscious. So once again, this is not something that was typical of me, of my behavior. So I go to the strip club and I talk to the bartender. She tells me that it looks like I would be fine. Basically, like, I was pretty enough, and so she asked if I wanted to start dancing that night. I was like, I really don't have clothes to get up there and dance. And so I asked her if I could start the next night. The next night was like a Wednesday. So I worked Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I think I worked Sunday. I was off Monday, Tuesday, because those were slow nights. That was what the girls told me, is that especially Monday and Tuesday were slow nights. And then I worked on Wednesday. During this time, while I'm working at the strip club, there were a couple of guys that came in I want to say Thursday or Friday night. And I actually teased them about what I referred to as their standard issue New Balance tennis shoes and cargo shorts. Like, one of the guys was wearing, you know, like those like the gray New Balance tennis shoes that have like yellow on them, like around the sole and around the end. Anyway, so he was wearing those, and the other guy was wearing some other New Balances, and one guy was wearing khaki cargo shorts, and the other one was wearing like these Levi Relax Fit dad jeans. So some part of me knew what was up. They both had short hair, close crop beards. It was really, really obvious. Honestly, I'm sure it was really obvious to every other girl in that club, but I'm new. I have no idea what I'm doing, and I'm on drugs. So they chat me up, and they're trying to get information out of me on it. Obviously, you know, they're doing an undercover operation unbeknownst to me. And we're talking, and you know, they're asking me about my life, and I'm, you know, asking them about theirs and trying to make them feel special or whatever. I don't know. And so basically, like, the long and short of it is that a few days later, the Wednesday after I first started, about a week later, they come in, and one of them is like, "Hey, can you get us something to party on? Like, can you get us some ecstasy?" I'm like, "No, I can't. I don't know anybody that sells ecstasy right now." And they were like, "Well, can you get us some coke?" And I was like, "Well, I don't have anything, but I know a guy, and so, you know, I can make a phone call for you." So I'm the middleman at this point. Like, effectively, I'm the middleman. So I call the dope boy, and I'm like, "Hey, this is what's up, da 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 da." So they arranged through me that the officers are going to leave the club, and they're going to go to a McDonald's a few miles away, and they're going to meet the dope boy over there. So this is how low level this dope boy was, y'all. He says he's going to leave, which was standard. This is standard. He would come and get the money, he would go and get the stuff, and then he would bring it back to you. And I never had any problems with that. I was probably buying off of him for a couple of months at this point, at least. Maybe even a little bit longer. It might have been a few months. And so the cops leave, they go meet him, da da da. They come back to the club. We're waiting on the dope boy to get back to the club. Dope boy gets to the club. His driver is outside, who's his roommate, and the officers and the dope boy do an exchange. No money touched my hands, no dope touched my hands, nothing. Like, this whole thing, like, all I did was make a phone call. So one of the guys goes to the restroom, he's checking out the bag, making sure that everything's okay. The other officer is standing there talking to me like, "Oh yeah, you want some?" And I'm like, "No, I'm good. I'm just trying to work tonight, man." And so he's like, "Okay, all right. Well, are you sure?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm good." So the other officer goes to the bathroom, like I said, to check things out. Well, obviously, he like calls his buddies, texts his buddies, whatever. So SWAT busts in, grabs the dope boy, grabs the driver outside. A couple minutes later, they grab me and another girl that had been talking to these undercover officers. And I'm standing there in the middle of this strip club, and then in the parking lot, wearing like a see-through negligee with like matching underwear, right? And this was just something that I already had in my closet. I didn't buy it for this job or anything. I'm just trying to make the money while I need to make the rent money. And then, like, I'm also looking for another serving job in the meantime because I don't want to be there. And so they come in and they grab me, they handcuff me, and they handcuff the other girl. they allowed me to take off my heels and put on my sandals that I had come into work in because, you know, I know this now from watching a bunch of YouTube videos and stuff, but like, you know, and stuff on like HBO or whatever, but you wear normal clothes to work and you've got your bag and you just go in, change in the locker room, change in the dressing room or whatever, and then you come out and you work and then you change clothes and then you go home, you know. So I've got like street clothes in the dressing room, but they wouldn't let me go in there. They went into the dressing room and got my stuff for me and let me switch shoes. That way I didn't fall or, you know, anything crazy like that because I'm handcuffed. You know, I can't do anything for myself. And then they get ready and put me in the car. So we go downtown, right? So they put me in one room, one interrogation room. They put the other girl in another room, and then they put the driver in one, and they put the dope boy in one. So all I can imagine is that they're kind of going back and forth and talking to each of us individually and just like, you know, cross-checking and see what's going on and trying to get everybody's story and you know, see what all's going on. They start asking me like how I know the dope boy. They ask me, you know, how long I've been buying off of him, you know, if I know who his dealer is, just all this different stuff. And I'm like, no, no, I don't know anything. I don't know. He comes over to my house. He picks up the money. He goes to get the stuff. He comes back. I have no idea. Like, I don't know, you know, I don't care. I don't care. I'm just trying to get high, you know? And so of course they're going back and forth and I'm like sitting there. I'm sitting there for like forever. And I feel like they came back to the club from the McDonald's around 10:30. And I remember looking at the clock in the interrogation room and it was 12:30 or maybe 12:45ish, something like that. I just remember it was after 12 o'clock. I should have been off work and I knew that baby daddy was gonna start worrying if he wasn't already. He was gonna freak out because I wasn't coming home. So I'm like, can I call, you know, can I call baby daddy and let him know what's going on? That way somebody knows that I'm down here. And he's like, yeah, that's fine. Here, go ahead. Because I'm like, I've got kids, man, you know, and I would normally be home by now. He's got no idea what's going on, no idea where I am or anything. So, of course, I call him and let him know what's going on, and he's freaking out, like cussing at me, da-da-da-da-da, and I'm still sitting there in this negligee. It's all see-through. They've got this jail, like, they've got this police station. It's like the police station and the jail are in the same building, or at least like some holding cells and stuff. So I'm sitting there in like no clothes. I'm freezing. It's like, it's cold like a hospital. And all I want to do is put some clothes on. So finally they let me put my normal like street clothes on. And then they get ready and take me downtown. And, you know, I didn't think that I had done anything wrong, right? Like, I didn't think I did anything wrong because, like I said, the dope never touched my hand. The money never touched my hand. I'm not a dealer. Like, I didn't have anything. There was no exchange from my hands or anything like that. Like, I didn't do anything other than make a phone call. What those, you know, officers did, that was up to them. If you want to buy drugs, that's your thing, right? If you want to buy drugs, that's up to you. You're a grown adult and you can make your own decisions. And the dope boy, if he wants to sell drugs, he's a grown adult. That's his decision, you know? And so I'm like, I can't have any accountability in this. So what do I need a lawyer for? So of course I'm just like spilling my guts for the next 2 hours, I guess. I don't even know. I didn't even know anything, you know? I mean, I didn't know anything because I didn't care. So, and they're asking me about the club and they're asking me if I know the owner and the bartender. I'm like, no, I don't know these people. I've been there, you know, a week, like literally a week at this point, and I didn't even work a couple of those days, so I've worked 5 days. So they're finally done questioning me and I didn't have anything to give them. So they put me in a cop car. They take me down to the Franklin County workhouse. So that's the county jail. They get me in there and I get processed, and I'm sitting in this holding cell right in the very front. Like, whenever you walk, like, for anybody that's been there, because I know some locals are going to look at this, whenever you walk into the workhouse, there's like a desk right in front, and then there's a holding cell on the left for the guys and on the right for the girls. So unless they've changed it, I mean, that was how it was 10, 12 years ago. And then there's a couple of benches between some pillars that are on either side of like the door, like the entranceway. It's a fairly large lobby. So they get me in there, they put me in the holding cell. I'm sitting in the holding cell forever. Once again, it takes forever. I will never understand. If you are a cop, or if you're bailiff, or if you've got any information on why it takes so long to get me back into a cell, could you please let me know? Because you just sit there and you're cold and there's nothing in there and there's no food and they don't bring you food and you miss breakfast and they don't care. And, you know, and I mean, don't get me wrong. I know that I was arrested, right? I did the wrong thing. I made some really poor choices and I put myself in a position where I got arrested, right? So that's my fault. At the same time, it's just like, why does it take so long? They finally search me and take my clothes, and they give me these tan canvas like jail clothes, right? So it's like a scrub top and like scrub pants, and they're V-cut neck on the shirt, and there's a pocket on the right side of the chest, or on the left side of the chest, and then the pants have elastic. And then they give you these sandals, and I had seen these sandals before at like Meijer or Walmart or whatever, and these sandals are like plastic or like rubber, and what they look like is they're tan, like a light tan color or like a light brown color, and they've got this basket weave design on the front, on the strap, and they're made kind of like they're a slide. They're shaped like a Nike slide, but they've got this ugly basket weave pattern. So that's what everybody wears. Now, I did not have socks because I'm wearing sandals. It's like, I think it was April. I think it was like middle to end of April. So it was pretty warm out. So I don't have socks because I'm wearing sandals. My undies are like cute, not functional. And my bra had an underwire, and so I wasn't allowed to keep it. So here I am in this canvas like inmate uniform, and I'm just cold and it's uncomfortable, and like, okay, so you're getting like THO, right? Because it's cold. So it's like chafing, like you're just like chafing, and it's miserable. I mean, it's like being a new mom all over again. It's miserable. So they take me back. I think I was in E6. I want to say I was in E6 because I'm pretty sure I was in E6 2 times, and then I was in this other one like E3 or something, I think my 3rd time. Those are other stories. But they get me in there, and of course I'm on the floor at first, and then whenever they start letting some people out like that night, because I came in so late in the morning that they couldn't get me before the judge that day. So then they start getting people out of there, you know, later that evening who had been to arraignment during the day. And so by evening, whenever I'm there, I finally get a bunk. So I'm on the top bunk, and they're metal, and there aren't any ladders, of course. And so you have to step on one bunk, and then you step on the other bunk, and then you lean over the one that you're getting on, and you like hoist yourself up. So I'm starting to get bruises across the fronts of my thighs because of trying to get up into this bunk. And like whenever they put you in the dorm, or in the cell block, they give you this green mat that looks like one of those vinyl covered mats from the nurse's office. So I've got this green vinyl covered mat, and I've got a white sheet, and it's like a jersey knit kind of sheet. It's not a real crappy sheet. I mean, they're kind of all right, especially for being in jail. So I'm talking to the girls, and they're asking me, what are you there for, and blah blah blah. Well, I've got an orange wristband. My orange wristband is because it was a felony 5 trafficking charge. So I'm a felon in a misdemeanor tank because they know that I'm not running with the big dogs. This is my first time ever being in jail. Didn't know the ropes, didn't know, what was going on or anything. So I think they took pity on me. Thank you. So everybody's calling me Felony like it's my nickname. They teach me how to flip my head of my mattress over and tie the top and bottom of the sheet. So like I've got a pillow and the whole thing is covered. But of course then it's short. So you've got to lay on your mat like all hunched up, kind of in the fetal position. And then there's a scratchy blanket, on top of you. And I had a cup and a spoon. And I'm pretty sure I got a toothbrush like right away. Sometimes it takes a while to get one. And I got a little comb. I don't know, is Bob Barker still alive? Because I found out during that initial stay in county jail that Mr. Bob Barker from The Price is Right is the, considerate gentleman who funded those little combs and toothbrushes, etc. for the jails. And so thank you, Bob Barker. I really appreciate you. That's super cool and thoughtful and, considerate. So I'm learning all this stuff, right? I'm learning all this stuff about how to do your hair and how to keep your piercings open and how to make a hair tie and how to make a tampon from a pad and how to do, first one thing and then another thing, because in jail you have to make do with what you have. And I met a few girls that were in there for a longer period of time. There were a few girls that were in there for a few months because I don't know what it's like everywhere else, but in Ohio, once you're sentenced, if you are not sentenced to more than a year, then you get to stay in county jail. You don't have to go to the prison. And I guess the girls would say that like prison was better because at that time you could still smoke cigarettes in prison. But in jail, you don't come out. You don't come out of that cell block. And the way it's set up is there's like one room with 20 some beds. And I want to say that I counted 26. That number sticks out to me for some reason. So on one side, you've got 26 different mattresses. And then on the other side, there's like 4 metal picnic tables that are cemented into the floor. And they've got some books and some puzzles and some colored pencils. And there's a TV that's behind like a piece of plexiglass. And so they only turn the TV on like so many hours a day. And so the girls will watch news in the morning, and then they'll watch like afternoon soap operas, and then in the evening they would watch like Family Guy, and then they would watch the news, and then everybody would go to bed. Or for the most part, everybody would go to bed. People that didn't have anything else to do, people that knew that they were going to be in there for a little while, like maybe they couldn't get bailed out, so they had to wait until, they were able to come out like once a verdict was handed down on their case. Because not everybody had family. There were a lot of people that did not have family that was available or family that would help them. They had been in trouble too many times or whatever like that. So at any rate, some of them would stay up all night long because they didn't have anything better to do. And then they would put like a pad, like a feminine hygiene pad over their eyes with a piece of string from their sheet. They would pull it off their sheet and they would tie it, and they would use that as a sleeping mask. Now, if the guards came in, you weren't allowed to do that. Like, you know, you're not allowed. There's so many different rules. Like, you're not allowed to hang your towel on your bunk. You're not allowed to be sitting on a bunk with someone else. Just all these different little rules and stuff. And I'm sure that they're there for a reason. I get it. I know what the reason is for pretty much everything, I think. There's nothing I can think of off the top of my head that I can't, figure out why the rule was there. But, and it's been so long. I mean, so long. Thank God. So I'm there that night and we hang out, and I'm learning the routine. And then the next morning, early in the morning, they call me for court for my arraignment. So I go for my arraignment and I come back, and going to court is a whole thing in and of itself. Yeah, that's gonna be another video because that's a mess, and everybody in Franklin County knows what I'm talking about right now. So at any rate, like, I'm ROR'd on one charge, I was ROR'd, like, bottom line. So I was released on my own recognizance. There was no bail that had to be posted, even though I was a felon. Everybody's running around calling me felony like it's my name. And I do mean everybody. Because they could tell that even though I was wearing the same colored, like, canvas scrubs as them, I've got this felony wristband on. So of course, like, I'm in a room with all these misdemeanors, all these other people with misdemeanors, and so they're all asking me questions like, what's going on, what'd you do, da da da, and of course I said I was innocent. I didn't do anything. So nonetheless, I get done with court, I come back, my mom comes to pick me up about midnight, and she takes me home, and I'm finally able to see my babies, and they were really little. I mean, they were like 1 and 2. I don't think my son was even 1 year old. I don't remember, to tell you the truth. It's been so long. But nonetheless, yeah, he was just under a year. He was just under a year old. So nonetheless, I go to court and I'm freaking out, right? I'm freaking out. I'm like, this is crazy. I don't know what the deal is. Like, why do they charge me? Da 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 da. And so I had this really cool public defender, because my parents, I don't know about y'all, but my parents never paid to get me out of anything. The one time that I had to pay to get bailed out, it was $500. My mom posted, and then as soon as I got out, I got a check a week later, because it was when we got that, like, weird check. Like, it wasn't a tax return check, but it was like this halfway through the year little, like, $500 and some incentive or whatever. So I can't even remember what they call that. I'll have to think of it. It's gonna drive me nuts now. So I gave her the $500, because, I mean, she didn't do anything. She doesn't owe that money, right? My parents never paid for an electric bill, phone bill, gas, never paid for a car, never paid for tax for my car, never paid for, pretty much, I don't think they've really ever paid for anything, except there was one time that they helped me out with a tire, because my tire was bald and it was about to go flat. And so my mom met me and paid like $25 or $30 to give me a tire. And that was really, really cool of her. And she knew I was just trying to get back and forth to work. I wasn't really doing any drugs at the time or anything. I'm just trying to go to work, you know. And then there was, I think there might have been twice when they bought like diapers and some baby food or whatever. But it wasn't, you know, I didn't ask for help and they didn't give it to me. And I'm telling you right now, I know that that is one of the primary contributing factors to why I hit my bottom at 29 instead of 49, because I know so many people whose parents helped them out and they gave them money and they paid their bills and all this other kind of stuff, and they were out there running and gunning for a whole lot longer. So that's just my experience. So I've got this cool public defender and I'm like, what's going on, da da da. So he tells me that this is just a process. He's like, court is just a process. Being arrested is just a process, you know? So you just go through the process. And what it looks like is you get arrested, you go to arraignment, you either get let out or you don't, you know, you either get bailed out or you get ROR'd or you stay in. And then, you know, whenever you go out before a judge again or you know, if you have to have continuances and then it goes to a jury trial or whatever, like at that point, then you end up either pleading or you get a conviction, you know, or your case is dismissed. But generally, you know, you plead down or you, you know, you get a conviction. So we go through this process, and basically, like, I went for the first court date after I was released. And I want to say it was like 2 weeks after the arraignment. Generally, at least in Franklin County at that time, it was about 2 weeks from arraignment until your first court appearance, or I guess technically your second. So I go in there and I'm talking to this public defender, and I will never ever forget this man. I will never forget this man. He was so helpful. I ended up having him for another case later on down the line. That's another video. But you know, this guy was awesome. And I believe he might be a member of the program, but I'm not 100% certain. And I'm just really grateful for him. He helped me out a lot at that time and helped me really kind of understand what was going on. So what they ended up doing was they released me on a future indictment, which means that they weren't going to follow through on the charges. They weren't going to move it up to the Superior Court. So what happened was, basically what that means, if you're, you know, if you're released on a future indictment, what that means is they've got about 7 years to come back on you and to pull you in on that indictment. So during that 7-year period of time, if you have any similar convictions, they will pull you up on that indictment. If you, you know, if you get in any kind of trouble, or if they get more evidence on the case and they can move it to trial, then they will pull you up. But I'm very, very grateful, and I think that it's, you know, just grace that I was not pulled back in on that future indictment. Really, really grateful, because there were so many times after that. I was arrested twice more, and I turned myself in both of those times. But during that whole period of my life, I mean, there were so many more times where if I'd been pulled over, or if a cop had come in my house, or if there had been like a knock and sniff, or, you know, like the wrong cable guy had come to check out the cable lines or electric lines or something like that. I mean, like, I would have been in trouble, whether it was me that was doing anything or not. Because guilty by association, man. You're guilty by association. So it doesn't even matter. And that's why they pulled me in, not because anything actually happened, not because I really did anything that was worth them taking me to jail for, but simply for the fact that I was involved, and until they got it all sorted out, I had a charge. So I hope this gives you guys some insight into what it looks like to go to jail in Franklin County, Ohio, what it looks like to be arrested under those circumstances, what it looks like to, you know, be in jail for the first time. Really scary process, just really scary, you know, because you don't know what to expect. We always fear the unexpected. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, story that you want to share with me, hit me down below in the comments. And I've also got my email address that I'm putting down there, Facebook, Instagram. Find me on YouTube, for other videos. Yeah. This is a crazy cool life, guys. And, and it's nice now that I'm on the other side of it. So I hope that you continue this journey with me. And, stay tuned for the next episode of Tarot is a Mess.